Hello everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. This is definitely a spur of the moment live stream. I am streaming from OBS. We will see how it goes. I haven't had much luck because of my crappy internet right now. Because I still haven't got my modem replaced, but hopefully I'll get around to it. It's just a pain in the butt. So we're gonna see how it goes. Oh, the chat's working. Okay, good. Hey, Kristen. Just wanna move this over a little bit. So I can't remember who it was in the chat that told me, hey Mark, that told me that the Ruseks were on duty, what's his name? Duty Ron's channel. I do not watch him. I think I watched maybe one or two of his live streams a very long time ago, and I didn't really like what I was hearing, so I haven't watched him since, so I would have had no idea that the Ruseks were even on there. So whoever did or was the one that told me that, thank you. I appreciate it because it's so very important to what I've been trying to tell you guys is going to happen for months now. And that's the censorship on social media, and especially the true crime community. It's already been happening, all over social media, not just YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. People get in Facebook timeout, they like to call it, Twitter timeout. Even the president of the United States gets in Twitter timeout, which I think is just a, it's all a ruse. It's just to, it's like, well, if the president of the United States, if Trump is getting banned and put in Twitter timeout, then that means that we can do it to any of you as well. So you better be careful what you say, pretty much, in my opinion. Hey, Melissa. Sorry I had to leave your stream, but I don't know, I felt I'm going to do another stream on this when I'm more prepared, but I definitely wanted to get the information out there because, again, like I said, it's important. So, and it's happening, and that worries me. So, hey, Sunny. Yeah, it appears so, Sunny. I don't know why the chat is not working on the screen now, but let me know. It says that I'm not getting the optimal resolution, but it looks actually somewhat decent on my end this time. But let me know if it's buffering or anything like that, because like I said, I'm using OBS. I don't even know how much minutes I have left on StreamYard because I don't pay for StreamYard. I think it's crap. So I use the free version because it's easier to live stream sometimes, but I do prefer OBS because it's open source and customizable, and it's what I use all the time for my D-Live streams. So if you guys have been following me for some time, you will know that I have been saying over and over again how one of the agendas of the Watts case is they're going to try to take away free speech from social media, and especially, obviously, the true crime community. They don't want to have any more independent news sources, such as your, not one in particular, like I always say, but just your, in general, armchair detectives. Again, no independent news sources, and none of the channel creators who are trying to solve these cases and figure out why there's inconsistencies with these high profile missing person, child, and homicide cases that, in my opinion, appear to all be pushing some sort of an agenda. Because again, you have to ask yourself, why is it that some cases there's only some cases that get, or certain cases, I should say, that get so much mainstream media attention, when we know that murder happens all the time? I'm sure that there's cover-ups that happen all the time, inconsistencies in cases, and we know that children and people go missing all the time. So why is it that there's only some of these cases that get, not, some, but a extensive amount of mainstream media attention, to where all the news outlets are covering it? It gets widespread media attention. And that chat is like really big. Okay. Which is good, because then you guys will be able to see it, hopefully. But let me see if I can make it a little bit smaller. I did that because I didn't expect the quality to be as good as it is. So, because it looks like it's only fitting one, like, pretty much one comment at a time, but maybe not. Maybe that's just the way it's set up. I don't know. It's through Streamlabs. So, with DLive, you have to use something called Tidy Labs, and then I was going to say AOL again. I don't know why I was going to say AOL. With YouTube, you have to use something called Streamlabs. So, they're different in their own. So, hey Loretta. So again, why is it that only some cases get so much mainstream media attention? Like, a lot, right? And they gain widespread media attention. I don't know if like the Summer Wells case is widespread yet, but it does seem to be getting a lot of attention fairly quickly. I know she's been missing for a month, but it seems to be a popular case right now. So, hey Lisa. Thank you, Sunny. Appreciate that. So I haven't watched, to be honest with you, I haven't watched more than 2 minutes of this live stream with Duty Ron and the Ruseks, who keep showing their faces, because you know what happens every single time they speak or show their faces on some sort of channel or in some sort of chat, right? And moderating and voicing their opinions and pushing their agenda. Every time they show their faces, all it does is make people want to talk about the case more. So the fact that they are saying, stop talking about the case, there's no conspiracy, there's no cover-up, why don't you people stop talking about the case? I mean, they literally talk down to a lot of the people who are truly, there are some of those left, who are truly trying to get justice based on the official narrative of these victims. And for the Ruseks to come on there, especially Frank Sr., to say, we know more than you, you're never going to know as much as we do, stop trying to act like you're detectives. And the Ruseks aren't the only one. Nicole Atkinson is also doing the same thing. She's been doing it for a while. I try to stay away from commenting about Nicole Atkinson at all, because of course you have her being the whole hero thing. She's innocent, nothing to see here, with the whole cancer thing. That definitely is going to pull at heartstrings, and it's just, it's not worth it to even bring her up. But I will say that she is also, pushing this same sort of agenda, in a sense. Or same agenda, not sort of. AIDS! Hi! Good to see you, my love. Okay, Mr. Archimedes. I was going to say Dave G, but today, you're always switching it up on me. Hello, Pure. So, it's not just the Ruseks. And then you have these other channel creators who are having the Ruseks on as guests, who are also, mind you, the Ruseks are saying, stop making money off the deaths of our family, stop making money. All you true crime channel creators who think you know everything, which you won't, like I was saying earlier, as Frank Sr. says, we know more than you, you're never going to know. Weld County's never going to tell you, rubbing it in our faces, when again, a lot of people are trying to get justice for the victims based off the official narrative, of course. And yet, I mean, he's totally a jerk about it, and that's putting it lightly, and yet nobody seems to call them out on it. Why? Because they're victims, right? Because they are victims. They are hurting. They are mourning. 3 years later, mind you. Not saying that anybody ever gets over, a death of a loved one. But when you're doing the opposite of what you keep, what you say all the time and contradicting yourselves, you have to wonder what agenda you're pushing or what is your motive. Because when you tell us, and I know this is going to sound repetitive, but it's super important, when you tell us, especially people on social media, that you're being harassed and you're being doxxed and you're being threatened and you're being sent death threats and you just can't handle it, and you try to stay off social media, but you just keep getting sent things that people are saying online. But there's no proof. There's no proof. There's no evidence to back up any of this harassment. And when asked about it, Frank says in that interview, or that, that news, I don't even know what you call them, press conference, I don't know, news conference, whatever he did, his little speech that he did in front of the house, in front of the Watts house that we're going to watch here again, because it's super important. I'm going to keep saying that. Super duper important. If you put duper on it, it makes it more important. I don't know. But it's really important. So when you say that you are trying to stay off social media to, live your lives because of all these threats and this harassment, yet you literally turn around and insert yourselves into social media, and not just any social media, but in the true crime community of all places, where that's all people in the true crime community do, is talk about the case and talk about the deaths and the murders and try to analyze it and pick it apart. That's what the true crime community does. So if you are in fact truly trying to live your lives, move on, mourn the deaths of your family, then why in the hell would you insert yourselves into the true crime community? And not only that, but engage on these channels, do interviews on these channels, become moderators of these channels. And that's all they do. That's all they do. And say that, and then have the audacity to tell us to stop talking about the case. When they know, they're not stupid, when they know that every single time they open their mouths or show their faces on social media, as I said earlier, that's all people want to do is start talking about the case more. It only adds fuel to the fire and gets people riled up again about the case. I mean, to me, it's clearly obvious. And I know that it's not obvious to everyone because they use this victim. There's this victim mindset. I think I used mentality last time. I don't think I'm using the correct word. But for whatever reason, the majority of people seem to think that it's just because you're a victim, that means you're untouchable, that you're immune to any sort of criticism or being called out on any of your contradictions. And that's just bullshit. Because again, being a victim just unfortunately makes you a victim, whether you're a real victim or a fake victim. It doesn't matter. If you're going to contradict yourself, and especially if I know and I can tell that you're pushing some sort of an agenda because what you're saying is contradicting, you keep contradicting yourselves back and forth, talk about the case, don't talk about the case. You can talk about this, but you can't talk about this. Stick to the facts. We think Nicole Kessinger is involved. No, we don't. Nobody else is involved. Chris is the only one that was involved. There's no conspiracy. Why are they trying so hard to convince us on social media? Number one, what do they care about what any of us have to say? We're just everyday people. We're not anyone special. Who cares what we have to say about them? Move on with your lives. Move on with your lives. And stop listening to what people say on social media. And if you didn't want people talking about the case, then you should not have publicized the deaths, based off the official narrative, of your own family by going on Dr. Phil and live streaming the freaking funeral live. I already said live, but live streaming the funeral for the whole world to see, and working with Netflix, of all companies, if you didn't want people to continue to talk about the case. Stop contradicting yourselves, Rusex, and stay off social media, and I won't have to keep consistently calling you out on your bullshit. And I know a lot of people are not going to want to hear this, but I don't care. I really don't care. Because people seriously need to wake up and look at what the Rusex are doing. And not just the Rusex, but the Watts themselves. The Watts are not staying away from social media. They are also engaging on social media. They are inserting themselves in social media. They are talking one-on-one with other channel creators in the true crime community, going and making documentaries in Colorado to try and get Chris this 35C that is never going to happen. Even if this was a real case, it would never happen. It just wouldn't. And make it like a whole movie docu-series or whatever. It's just not realistic. It's I mean, seriously, it's so ridiculous that they would even, agree to do something like that. If you think that your son didn't get the justice he deserves, then you get a lawyer. You get a real law team who knows what the hell they're doing. And do it the right way. You don't go and get someone that's pretending to be a journalist lawyer and go and make a docu-series on social media. They are playing us, you guys. They are playing all of us. So, I'm not sure what Sandra's talking about, but no jealousy here. I don't think so, anyways. I am pretty sure that Mr. Duty Ron is not going to be okay with me playing. I don't know. Maybe he would be, but I don't know. I didn't ask his permission, so I'm not going to be able to play the whole thing. Not that I would, but I'm going to play some clips. And like I was saying earlier, I have not even watched more than 2 minutes of this live stream, and I can already see what's going on. And what am I trying to say here? The Rusex sit there and say that people on social media and on YouTube are making money off the case, right? But yet they sit on that one channel as the creator is literally getting super chats while she has the Rusex on as her guest. And I already you guys know who I'm talking about anyway, so I don't know, I try to be all secretive. I just don't like to, there's no point in calling other channel creators out. There's really no point. Obviously I have to mention Duty Ron because I'm going to be playing a couple of his clips. So But they're saying that people on YouTube need to stop making money off the case. Yet here, that channel creator is literally making super chats as she has the Ruseks on as guests. And literally, I kid you not, I counted them, 20 advertisements in the first hour of that live stream that she had the Ruseks on. Now you have Duty Ron, who has the Ruseks on, and it doesn't matter. You're still talking about, he has hashtag Chris Watts, hashtag the Ruseks, hashtag blah, blah, blah. So regardless, he's still making money off the case by having the Ruseks on. He has 14,000 views on that live stream already. And that's what worries me. And that's what we're going to get into right now. Let me just make sure that I'm not totally buffering. Okay, we're good. So again, I have not watched hardly any of this. We're just going to skip through so I don't get some sort of copyright strike by him. Like I said, I can't imagine that he's going to be okay with me calling him out on this. So, here we go.
He is a savage beast who took the life of his wife, his 2 children.
A savage beast. Sorry. 2 seconds in, and he's already trying to, again, go with the whole Chris is a monster. He's just a sick individual, a savage beast who murdered his entire family with his bare hands. You see how that pushes fear onto people?
And his unborn son in 2018. To be exact, August 13th of 2018. Now, in a few short weeks, we will be coming up on the 3-year anniversary of, and I don't even like to call it an anniversary, so let me retract that. On the 3-year marker of this heinous crime that was committed not only against the victims, but the family, the extended family, the Ruseks, the cousins, the aunts, the uncles, and everybody on that side. You know, and we talk about this all the time. It's about respect for the families that are left behind. Now, here we are 2 years in, coming into 3, and people are still speaking about this case. They're still disrespecting the family.
Okay. He says 3 years going in, and people are still talking about this case. Why are people still talking about this case? 1, because that's a part of the whole psyop. That's what it's meant to do. It's meant to pull people in. It's meant to send people down rabbit holes. It's meant to distract. And they know that they knew that this case was going to be huge. I've heard many people say that they didn't realize how big or how big this case was going to be. Oh, they did. They did. That's a whole part of the psyop. That's why so much information was released in this case, because it pulls people in. Same thing that I did right when I got home from Colorado. When I saw that Dr. Phil episode, I did what the majority of people did. I got home, I didn't even unpack my suitcase, and I was already on YouTube looking up videos about this freaking case. So, again, I did the same thing that a lot of other people did as well. Many, many people. But that's how these psyops work. You want to go, oh my God, this is sick. How could this guy do this? How could somebody like this, looks like all around family guy, American family guy with great fathers. Everybody has nothing but good things to say about him, right? How could he do this? How could he dump his family at an oil site where he worked, bury his wife in a shallow grave, and dump his daughters in oil tanks, even though the hole is only 8 inches wide, right? But it doesn't matter how big the holes are because it's horrific. And when things are horrific, people think with their emotions and they don't think logically. All that goes out the window and they think, oh my God, this is horrific. It doesn't matter how big the holes are. They could have been 2 inches and people would believe it anyways. So one reason, again, why people are still talking about this case 3 years later is because it was done that way on purpose. The discovery being released, all the body cam footage, all the missing information. When, with the amount of information we received, it should be open and shut. There's no reason why we should still be sitting here 3 years later trying to figure out why there are so many holes and red flags and inconsistencies in this case. So it's done that way for a reason. And why 99% of the people involved in this case didn't have their personal information redacted for their protection. Because what would we have to search? What rabbit holes would we have to go down if we didn't have that information in everyone's names? If we didn't have Nicole Atkinson's name and her son and Troy McCoy and you name it. Nicole Kessinger, right? How could I forget about Nicole Kessinger? How would we be able to go look at Jimbo? How would we try to figure out who the hell Jimbo is? Because the police didn't tell us. Law enforcement didn't tell us. They didn't even bother to tell us if they interviewed him or not. Most likely because they didn't, because this case isn't real. It's not. And as you guys can tell, probably I've been so much more transparent, but I'm not. I refuse to sugarcoat this any longer because it's been 3 years. If they take me down, they take me down. Luckily, my channel is still small. That's a good thing. One positive thing about having a smaller channel is I don't have a lot of attention that can, bring in that negative whatever from other people. See what I'm saying? Kind of. Hey, Nuckin. Hey, Arch. So, right off the bat, 2 seconds in, 3 minutes, but I started it because he was just, yammering in the first 3 minutes. But he's already saying that the families are 3 years later still being harassed, and we need to think about them, and how dare we keep talking about this case. So again, one reason why we're still talking about this case is because of the PSYOP, and that's how they work. Secondly, we keep talking about this case because the Ruseks will not go away. They will not go away. They just keep showing their faces on social media. If they would stop engaging in social media and they actually did what they're supposed to do and stay away from social media, especially the true crime community, people would probably stop talking about this case. And if they didn't, it would be simply because other channel creators are keeping it alive by pushing out disinformation and giving people false hope that Nicole Kessinger is going to be investigated, or that police are still investigating, or whatever theories they want to come up with. But by the Ruseks still continuing to show their faces on social media, that's why people still talk about it. And they're doing that for a reason, you guys. They are pushing an agenda, clearly. And we're going to get into that a little bit more. Hey, Ara.
They're talking in a good way. And for me, I got to tell you, it's such a shocking thing to hear when people continue to talk about crime victims' families.
What is he doing right now? What is he doing? 3 years later, he's still talking about the case. So isn't that just a huge contradiction? Regardless if he's talking about, the inconsistencies or if he's doing it to advocate for the Ruseks, you are still 3 years later talking about the case and you are making money off of it. So why, Ruseks, are you not calling out Mr. Duty Ron here on him profiting off of the deaths of your family? Because that's what he's doing, essentially. That's what he did right there on this live stream. With super chats. And I don't know if there's any advertisements on here, but he's getting super chats. He's monetized. So, why is it okay for Duty Ron and other channel creators who are advocating for the Rusex, why is it okay for them to make money, but nobody else? Contradiction at its finest. Hey, Dorothy Marie. I'm going to get into that in just here shortly.
I just got to say, from being a police detective, police officer, and dealing with families that have gone through tragedy, there's no lower thing that you could do. And at the end of the day, really, I have no patience for it. So when I get comments in my comment section, and I have people who talk to me and say, Duty Ron, this is just ongoing. People just continue to talk about this case. He was sentenced in 2018, 5 life sentences. This is, to me, this is a closed case. It's over with. There's no room for conspiracy theories.
There's no room for conspiracy theories. And tell me, Duty Ron, why does nothing add up in this case? If you're a cop, you're a retired NYPD detective, I can't believe that you don't see any inconsistencies in this case. So what propaganda are you pushing? Retired detective Duty Ron. This is the bullshit that pisses me off. Because he's using his whole, I'm a retired NYPD detective, because he knows that, well, if Duty Ron, a retired NYPD detective, says it, then it must be true, because he's a retired NYPD detective, and, you know, he wouldn't lie, right? He wouldn't have any sort of motive or agenda to push, because he's a cop, and cops tell the truth, right? And this isn't a bash a cop thing, but just because he is in law enforcement, that doesn't mean that he's not pushing some sort of agenda or propaganda. I want to make that clear. Because I'm sorry, you don't have to be a detective or in law enforcement to know that shit doesn't add up with this case. So the fact that he's so convinced with all the inconsistencies, nothing was done by the books with this case. It didn't have to be, because it's not real. They didn't have to seal off the crime scene. They could release the crime scene within a day. They could touch everything they wanted to and taint all the evidence, because it's not real. It's a movie. So every time I hear someone in true crime say, why this? Why that? Why aren't they answering our questions? How could they not wear gloves? Why didn't they test this? Why didn't they test the fingerprints? Where's the rest of the autopsies? Why is there a lack of, autopsy photos? Why wasn't the crime scene taped off? Why was everybody allowed to walk in there and touch everything? Because it's not real. Because it's a movie. And they know that the majority of people are going to just simply believe it because they were told, because they heard it on mainstream media, or because law enforcement told them. So I don't know. I didn't see this live. I don't know how many people he had in his live stream, in his chat. I'm assuming probably like 1,200, right? He's got 14,000 views already. So he's got 1,200 people watching him, roughly, right? Okay, we'll say, I don't want to over-exaggerate or anything, but maybe if someone watched the stream live, you guys can let me know. But again, he's using his whole, I'm a police officer, I know what the hell I'm talking about. Listen to me, you guys. Don't listen to silly, crazy conspiracy theorists who are still talking about this case, because nothing adds up. But he's 100%, 110% convinced that there's no conspiracy. Right? Of course he's not gonna. Of course he's a retired NYPD detective. I mean, I've never vetted him, but I guess I probably shouldn't even believe that. But he's claiming to be one, and he's saying that there's no conspiracy. So when someone says there's no conspiracy, when clearly there's many red flags, holes and inconsistencies, like I keep saying in this case, there's probably a conspiracy, or there's probably something going on. Okay? So you have people like Duty Ron, and you have the professionals like Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz, and they have their professionals on as guests saying that Chris is a covert narcissist, he's a monster. Who are people more inclined to believe? These people or someone like myself? I'm going to go ahead and say those people. The professionals, right? Because they're professionals. They must know what they're talking about. Clearly, right? And I'm being sarcastic, in case anybody didn't know. Hey, Crisis Cast. Yeah, all right, and that's tens of thousands of views on his video of propaganda being pushed onto people. Lies. Straight up lies. Because again, you do not have to be in law enforcement to know that nothing adds up. And it doesn't matter. People can argue and say, oh, well, they redacted. They didn't show everything. No. Bullshit. With the amount of information we were given, we should still not have as many questions as we do with this case. Again, the reason why there's holes and why there's inconsistencies, they're done on purpose because they know that people in the true crime community are going, and not just the true crime community, but this happened with the Las Vegas shooting as well. They knew that people were going to start to notice the inconsistencies by the LVMPD and by Weld County and literally pick through the FIT report with the Las Vegas shooting and this discovery with a fine-tooth comb. They knew that. And so now they are claiming that by simply, because again, there's no proof. I have seen zero proof that the Rusiks have received any harassment. Talking about a well-publicized case that they themselves helped to publicize, and I don't know why my rooster's up right now, but he is. A well-publicized case is not harassment. Unfortunately, that's what happens when you're in the public eye. People are going to scrutinize every little thing about you. And by showing your faces all the time and going on Dr. Phil and streaming the funeral live and working with freaking Netflix, we have every right to talk about the case. And if there's inconsistencies, we have every right to try to figure out why there's inconsistencies. Whether it's because there's a cover-up, whether because it's a orchestrated event and it's not real, or whatever. It doesn't matter. But we have a right to question why shit doesn't add up. And they're trying to say that we don't have that right, you guys. This is what worries me, and we haven't even got to the worst part yet. They're trying to say that by simply talking about a true crime case means that we are harassing the families. That talking about a true crime, that's all people do in true crime, is talk about true crime in the case. They're trying to claim that simply talking about it and trying to figure out why shit doesn't add up is considered harassment, and that's just simply not the case at all. And I will be right back because my kitty wants to go outside. So talk amongst yourselves, please. Sorry. Okay, sorry about that. I had to let my kitty out and then figure out why Buddy was awake. But it looks like their fan turned off for some reason. So it's still kind of hot here. It's supposed to cool down, but again, well, I shouldn't say cool down. It's supposed to get less hot. But we'll see. Thank you for being patient. Okay, so I'm gonna try not to ramble too much, but it's again, I'm only a few seconds in, and he's already pissing me off. He's pissing me off a lot. The propaganda is off the charts. So let's continue.
There's no room for talking about other people being arrested, because if somebody was going to be arrested as a co-conspirator or anything like that, it already would have been a done deal. But what I want to do is to set up for my audience. I want you guys to listen to it's over 2 years, going on over 2 years, a plea that Frank Rusek Sr. took a trip. Joe Murray and I had we looked at this, we reviewed it. He took a trip from North Carolina all the way to Colorado, out in front of his daughter's home. This took a lot of strength, emotionally, in the heart. He got on an airplane, he came out there, and he made a plea over 2 years ago. This was June of 2019. And I want to play this so the audience can see the anguish, the way Frank is being ripped apart emotionally here. And it took a lot for this man to come out and be a voice for his daughter. But this was 2 years ago. And now we're going to fast forward to today. So if you got...
Okay, so why did Frank Rusek have to get on an airplane and fly all the way to Colorado to do this? To give this little speech of a performance that he gives. That Duty Ron is just really hyping up for him. He's just really, it was really tough on him, and it just really hard to do, and he had to get on a plane and fly all the way and stand in front of his daughter's house to do it. Why would you have to do that to make a point? Why would you have to fly all the way to Colorado to do it and stand in front of the Watts home? Why? I'll tell you. Because when you do that, when Frank Rusek does that and he stands in front of the Watts home and people see in the background, which could have probably even been a green screen for all we know, but he stands in front of the Watts home, which is it's a dark paint color. It's a hideous color in my opinion, but it's dark, it's dreary. And you know what that does when people see that home behind Frank? It pulls at heartstrings, and it makes people, subconsciously think that that's where the murders took place. That's where innocent lives were lost. So that's why Frank Rusek felt the need, allegedly, to go and get on an airplane and stand in front of that home. To really pull at people's heartstrings, especially with the agenda that he's trying to push with this whole speech that he gives. And I've already, the minute I saw this months ago, or whatever Duty Ron said in June, right? 2019 or whatever. I made a video about it, and I said, right when I saw this, I just had this feeling that they were going after one of our rights. They were going after free speech. And it's going to sound repetitive to those of you who do follow me, but again, it's so important, and I apologize if it's repetitive, but I need people, and I need you guys to see what is really going on with this case. Just the motives behind it.
You guys would take a moment to listen to this. And please, again, if you're in the chat, be respectful towards the family. They are watching.
Hello, I am Frank Rusek. Last summer, on August 13, 2018, my daughter Shannon Watts and her children were murdered.
Hey, Chica.
They were killed by Shannon's husband and the children's father, Chris Watts. I can't possibly describe how painful the last 11 months have been for myself, my wife, and my son, Frankie Jr. And for everyone else who cared so much about Shannon and her children. Just dealing with this type of tragedy is more than a family should bear. But I am making a statement today because for the past 11 months, piled on top of pain and the grieving of this devastating loss, our family has been subject to horribly, cruelly abused, outright bullying, and on a daily basis. I don't want to draw more attention to the viral material that has been posted online. And so I don't want to go into specifics, but I will say that our family.
Why, Frank? Why don't you want to go into specifics about it? I would like to hear what this abuse and this torment that you've endured over the last year since it happened. I would like to know the specifics. Please go into detail. Why not? Why won't you go into detail? Because there's no evidence of it. Because you're full of shit. I don't care. Anybody can come at me about how dare you talk about a victim like that. These are not victims. These are people playing victims to push an agenda. We, the public, we are victims. We are the ones who have been lied to on a massive scale. And we are the ones who are going to suffer the most from this, not them. They know what they're doing.
Including Shannon and her children and our grandchildren, have been ridiculed, demeaned, slandered, mocked in the most vicious ways you can imagine.
Hey, Frank Sr., if you didn't want Shanann to be literally her entire life and her image and everything to be picked through with a fine-tooth comb, why did you leave her social media platform available to the public? Why did you leave it public? For the whole world to see. I think it's still public. Why did you leave her Facebook open if you didn't want people talking about your daughter and your grandchildren and your grandson? Because you know that's what people do. People are going to try to find whatever reason they get. You know, again, just because you're a victim, it doesn't mean that you're a perfect mother. It doesn't mean that you're a saint or an angel, or that you didn't treat your husband badly or anything, or that you're not, that you're, you know, immune to any scrutiny. So if you didn't want people to do that, then you shouldn't have made Shanann's Facebook account public. Stop contradicting yourself.
We have been subject to false accusations,
Hey, Eddie.
fake Facebook accounts, hate speeches, and constant stream of ugly, evil,
Hey,
insults,
Sophia.
and attacks. Every time we turn around, there is someone trying to capitalize on our tragedy.
There's someone trying to capitalize on your tragedy, yet there you go, showing your faces on true crime channels. We know which ones, because I've already mentioned them earlier. Capitalizing off of talking about the case. Whether or not it's because you're on there as a guest, they're still profiting off the deaths in one way or another. So why aren't you calling them out? Why aren't you calling out all of the mainstream media outlets like Denver News and HLN and Discovery ID and Netflix, who are literally making millions off of the deaths, based off the official narrative, the deaths of your family? You freaking worked with Netflix to publicize the case even more. More and more and more contradictions. And I'm tired of it.
By spreading.
Yeah, really. Take a deep breath. Really, let people focus on this background of this miserable, dreary house where, these murders allegedly took place. That's really going to pull at heartstrings. Real good. You guys are good. Let me tell you. You guys are really, really good.
Spreading false rumors and outright lies about Shannon and our grandchildren. We have been subject to threats on our lives, all because we are victims.
You have? Where? Why aren't you getting law enforcement involved then? Why are you continuing to point fingers, which we're going to see here in a minute, at these big social media platforms? If you're really being threatened, if your lives are truly being threatened, which is terrible, if it's true, then that's something that your precious law enforcement needs to, deal with. Not take away our free speech from social media, because you're the one who publicized the deaths.
Victims in painful tragedy. This is so wrong. It is cruel, it is heartless, it is flat wrong.
Sorry, Chica, I had to say, did you just say shoe proof? Shoe proof. Don't get me started on the shoes. I've already, I know you haven't been able to make it to a lot of my streams because you've been super busy, but I've been talking about the shoes a lot. They keep popping up. So it just, shoe proof. That's funny. Okay, here we go.
It breaks my heart to know that we are not the first family to have to live through this kind of tragedy. And we won't be the last. Families like ours should have the right to be safe and the right, a basic level of privacy, the right to mourn in peace. And it boils my blood that my family and other families are dealing with worse imaginable tragedy, have to deal with this kind of cruelty and bullying. It needs to stop. To Congress, or to any position in power, we are calling.
Wow, so I've totally forgot about that. They're not even just calling out the big social media platforms. They're going straight to Congress with this, you guys. Congress, for the harassment that there's no evidence of, that he doesn't want to go into specifics of course. How convenient. Going to Congress for what? For people talking about a well-publicized case? What is Congress going to do? What is your argument, Frank? And I cropped out Duty Ron's little watermark because it's not his video, so.
Calling on you to do something, to pass laws that will protect victims of unspeakable crimes from this kind of abuse. Our online social media sites like Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We have contacted you many times, reported this abuse, but no avail. We are calling on you again to do the right thing.
Okay, here we go with the Hegelian dialectic that I talk about a lot. Because it's important, and I'm going to keep talking about it. I'm going to keep repeating myself because that's how important. I don't know why I can't say the word important today, but that's how important it is. Okay, so again, we have Frank Sr. up here saying how they've been harassed, they've been threatened, their lives are threatened. They, all these nasty things being said about him, and just, pulling at the heartstrings. Had to stand in front of the Watts home to pull at heartstrings even more. That's why it was important for him to go there. Fly all the way out there, right? That's you can't make your point in your own state. That you had to literally do it in front of the Watts home. I see what you're doing, Frank, okay? Others may not, but I see what you're doing. You can't fool me, okay? Frank, let's be frank, right? So now he's just pointed his fingers, not, physically, but pointed his fingers and said that they've tried to contact, they're calling out for help from Congress. They've tried to contact big social media platforms like YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, for help about this harassment by them allowing this harassment on their platforms, right? But they haven't done anything about it. They're not responding to him. They're not responding to the Ruseks. They're not responding to his lawyers. So he says to no avail. Okay, so here comes that Hegelian dialectic, that problem, reaction, solution. By Frank Sr. standing up here because he felt it was really necessary, right? It's really important. He's pointing fingers at the big social media platforms, and he is creating the problem. He is creating the problem by saying that these platforms are not doing anything about these family members being harassed, even though there's no evidence to back that up. As far as we know, it's all hearsay. It's just what they have said. It's their word alone. Because they're victims, we're supposed to believe them, right? Because they're victims and they're honest and they don't lie. And they're not trying to push a motive or push agendas or have a motive and push agendas or an agenda. Clearly, right? So he's creating the problem by saying that these social media platforms are not doing anything about it. Then, here comes the reaction, right? This was the first attempt, you guys. This was the first attempt at trying to take away our free speech. So here comes the reaction that they want us to get they want to get a big enough reaction from the public. And they want us to say, oh my God, this is terrible. I can't believe that these big social media platforms are allowing this to happen. How could they allow this abuse towards these innocent victims who have done nothing, right? Who are trying to mourn the loss of their family and move on with their lives. Something needs to be done. These big social media platforms need to do something about this, right? So then we turn to them for a solution to this harassment, not realizing that they were the ones who actually created the problem in the first place, which is Frank standing up there and pointing fingers at these big social media platforms. Problem, reaction, solution. And the solution is that we're looking for, right? Or that's going to happen is free speech. They're going to take away a little bit at a time. It might not be all at once, but maybe it's a little bit with the Watts case. And then maybe it's a little bit with the Summer Wells case. Who knows? But they are trying to say that simply talking about a well-publicized homicide case is harassment. It's not harassment. It's not. But even the Honor Network, don't let that name fool you, even is trying to say that simply talking about a case is considered harassment. It's a well-publicized case. And not only that, but you yourselves, Ruseks and Watts, publicize the death every time you show your face on frickin' social media and you tell people to stop talking about the case. I see what you're doing, Frank. And I'm not going to sit back and I'm not going to just let you push this agenda and allow you to take my free speech away or anybody else's for that matter. So I'm going to try to wake as many people up as I can so that that doesn't happen. It might take a miracle, but I assure you, I am not going to sit back when I can clearly see you are pushing an agenda with this bullshit. Again, victim or no victim, I'm going to call you out on your contradictions, and you keep contradicting yourself. And you guys are hypocrites. I don't care if you're a victim or not. You are not immune. And you don't get a free pass from your bizarre behavior on social media because you're a victim. Show me some proof that you're being harassed. And I'm not talking about discussing the case. I want to see proof, not that you could, that you're really receiving death threats. I want to see the reports that you filed to the police department saying, hey, we're receiving death threats and we're scared for our lives. I want to see those reports that you filed, and you seem to claim that there's hundreds of them, or many of them, right? But you don't want to go into details about it. Why not? Why don't you want to show me those reports that you filed of your lives supposedly being threatened? Sorry, Frank. I don't buy it.
To take some responsibility for your platforms and stop this despicable conduct. To the people who feel they are entitled to profit off our loss, We urge you, please stop. And for the people who are interested in this case who feel compelled to comment and discuss, please stick to the truth. It is painful enough for us to just dealing with.
What's the truth, Frank? We don't know what the truth is. Hell, we don't even know if anything's the truth because it's all hearsay. Not one person has been able to, with my challenge, been able to prove with beyond a reasonable doubt that anything that we've been told in this case is factual. It is all hearsay. The true crime community is all based on hearsay. I don't care what anybody says. Show me one bit of proof that nobody can provide me that. Nobody, like, I don't want to hear, well, I read it in the Discovery, so it must be true. I don't want to hear that someone said that they saw Kessinger in the grocery store, so she must be real. No, I don't want to hear that. I want to see physical proof that Nicole Kessinger and Chris Watts were actually having an affair, that they were actually doing it 6 times a day. I want to see evidence of victims. I want to see that there's no evidence to prove that Nutgate ever even happened. There's no evidence to prove that they ever went to the beach on the exact day that they said that they went to the beach. There's no evidence to prove that Shanann was even on that flight from Phoenix Sky Harbor National Airport to Denver International. I could tell you that I'm on a flight to Zimbabwe tomorrow. And I'm in Zimbabwe. I don't know why I picked Zimbabwe, but I did. I could tell you that. I could give you the flight number. Does that mean that I'm really on that flight? No. And it boggles my mind that so many people just believe it. Why? Why do so many people just believe it? Because they were told by law enforcement or the mainstream media? So, it must be true because it's in a Discovery, right? So Shanann had to have been on that flight. No. Where's the airport footage? Even if there was airport footage, they could have took a photograph of her freaking walking away from the hangar. It doesn't prove anything. It's all hearsay and based off of belief. I'm not saying don't believe anything ever. Well, I guess I am. But what I'm saying is, especially don't believe it when shit doesn't add up. If the majority of people in the true crime community agree and say that there's something going on with this case and that there's so many inconsistencies, if they can lie about those things, then what else can they lie about? What else are they capable of lying about? And are they capable of lying about the entire thing to push multiple agendas because they can legally do it? Because of the Smith Modernization Act of 2012. And they were still doing it before that bill. But now they can legally do it without any repercussions. And we can't get mad. So again, if the majority of the true crime community is agreeing that law enforcement has lied about many things, then what else have they lied about? Could they have lied about Shanann being on a flight? Could they have lied about the affair? Of course they could have. That's what I'm trying to get people to see, is that things can be deceiving and not everything is what it seems. And people are shitty. Doesn't matter if you're of higher authority or you're the mainstream media. And the mainstream media is the last people you should believe. And again, I'm not questioning the cases that don't add up and that don't have holes in their narrative. But I'm allowed to, and just like everybody else is allowed to question why shit doesn't add up. So stop telling us to talk about the case when clearly shit doesn't add up.
With the reality, reading the insane conspiracy theories, ugly false rumors, and lies only make it more painful. Finally, to the people who have stood with us, who have supported us and prayed for us and our family.
Oh, here comes the pulling at heartstrings. Chica loves, the heartstring pulling. I know that. No tears. There's no tears.
For Shannon and her grandchildren, we can't thank you enough. God bless you all, and thank you for your time. Thank you.
Hey, Frank, quick question, and asked this respectfully, but was there any fear about coming forward because you're now giving these people that are saying this stuff even more for their platforms, if you will?
No.
See what the reporter said? Actually, he said something along the lines of, are you scared that by coming out and doing that, or worried that by coming out and doing this, you are just going to make people start talking on these social media platforms even more? He said, no. Are you, seriously? You don't think that? You don't think by coming out and doing this that people are not going to be wanting to talk about the case more? Sorry, Frank. Not buying it. Wouldn't take it even if it was for free, okay?
Did you come here back to Colorado here today? I mean, for the sole purpose of doing this?
Yes, I did.
Why?
Why? Because
She said, did you come out to Colorado just for this and doing it in front of the house just for the sole purpose of doing this interview? And he said, yes, I did. She said, why? Great question. I'm surprised. You think he's going to tell us the real truth? Nah.
I felt it needed to be done here at her house.
Because that's
Why did you think that, Frank? Why did you think it needed to be done? Oh, that's right. I already talked about this. I jumped the gun. Because it pulls at heartstrings. Because everyone gets to see this blurry image, dark and dreary house behind you and subconsciously be reminded, and maybe not even subconsciously, but be reminded that murders allegedly took place here. That you lost your loved ones. Man, if that doesn't pull at heartstrings, I don't know what does. Good job, Frank. Good job.
how bad it is.
Yes, it is.
I mean, are people, you know, it sounds like a lot of this is happening in the online space. I know you don't want to go too much into it, but people hide behind those names on the internet, and it sounds like that's what's kind of going on.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that and how that's...
Hey,
Basically,
Justifier.
it's
Hey,
a nonstop thing. Everybody talking about things that were not done correctly, and keep pushing the issues. It's a lot of ugly out there.
Yeah,
a lot of ugly.
there sure is.
How is
I agree.
Your family, this should be your time to grieve. You went through the court process. This should be your time to, you know, to grieve. And it sounds like you haven't even fully been able to do that very well because of everything else that's been going
No,
on.
we haven't. It's not that we're looking at the stuff that's on YouTube's and Facebook and.
Wait, what was that again, Freak? Did you just say that it's not because you're looking or trying to find what people are saying on the YouTubes? I don't know, there was more than one YouTube, but I'll let it slide. That you're not purposely, you know, seeking for what's being said on social media. Yet, a few months later, you literally inserted yourself into social media. In the true crime community. Of all places, where that's all they do in the true crime community is talk about the murders and the deaths of Shanann and the girls and Nico, based off the official narrative. Tell me how that makes sense. Tell me that's not a contradiction in itself. It's like they don't even remember what they say because there's so many lies, or they just don't care because they know that the majority of people are not going to call them out on it. Well, I'm going to call them out on it. I'm going to call them out on their bullshit. And I'm going to say, hey, Frank, you just got done saying, you know, you flew all the way to Colorado to say that you do not purposely seek out these things that are being said on social media. Well, what do you think is going to happen when you insert yourself into the true crime community? That's all you're going to hear is the shit that's being said about your family. Let's continue.
It gets sent to us.
Have you had people contact you directly? Some of these things that are out there, have they contacted the family directly?
Not personally on our, live stuff, but on computer type, your phones and stuff.
Like Facebook messages, have they tried to contact you, some of these folks?
Mm-hmm.
What would you tell those people? I mean, I know some of them might watch this or post this on the internet tonight. What would you tell them?
Like I've been telling them for the longest time, just stop. Please just stop. Get on with your lives.
Oh, see, we could, Frank. We probably could. Because I think I specifically remember that this case was starting to die down a little bit, but you felt it necessary to fly all the way out to Colorado and get your point across that you're being harassed. So what did that do, Frank? Oh, that's right. It only got people to start talking about the case even more. Weird.
Leave ours alone. You know, we can't grieve. It's just a nonstop thing.
Oh, yeah, and I don't know the specific date, but didn't your son, Frankie Jr., didn't he post on his YouTube channel, didn't he post the video of his FBI interview about Shanann? Didn't he do that? I mean, talk about getting people, talking about the case again. I mean, why would you post, of all things, your interview about your deceased sister that was just allegedly brutally murdered on social media? You don't think that's going to get people worked up again and start talking about the case and pull at heartstrings more? Of course you did. Of course you did, Frankie Jr. But I'm not buying it.
They know who they are. We have a lot of YouTubers out there that are, I'll mention YouTubers, and they are backing us. But there's a lot out there that are just terrible.
You mentioned lawmakers. I mean, is there something that you would hope they can do for legislation?
Well, I hope they can do something about these, this YouTube, Facebook, or Google, whoever is involved in the Twitter.
There he goes again. Hegelian dialectic, pointing fingers at the big social media platforms right after the interviewer says something about trying to pass legislation. When they say something like that, you guys, that gets me worried. And it did at the time. Fortunately, I don't think that this got enough people worked up. I don't think it caused enough to do anything, to get anything passed, because that's what they need. The reason why, again, they orchestrate these tragic events, the ones that don't add up, right? Again, I'm not questioning the ones that do, but hardly any of them do. I'm starting to see, and I'm thinking that they're all to push some sort of agenda and they're orchestrated. Because again, ask yourself, why is it that some cases get so much mainstream media attention over so many others? But I get this question all the time, is why would they do something like this, Megan? Why would so many people be involved, which there doesn't have to be so many, but why would they orchestrate an entire homicide case? Why would they orchestrate a school shooting or a terrorist attack? That would never work. So they have to orchestrate these school shootings and get people, and use that Hegelian dialectic, and get people so emotional and say, oh my God, this is terrible. Stop these innocent children in these schools from dying. Stop these innocent lives from being taken at the hands of these pew pew pews, right? I'm already pushing it by even saying SS, right? But again, I'm tired of speaking in code. I'm tired of rewording everything. And people that are new that come to my channel probably think I'm crazy because I'm speaking in code all the time and rewording everything. I don't want people to think that. I want to be clear from now on with what I'm saying. And if that gets me taken down, then so be it. I mean, I don't want to say that and just say, oh, well, to get my channel where it's at, even though it is still very small. But I'm not going to get anywhere. We're not going to get anywhere if I'm not transparent with what I'm saying. So they create those pew pew pews events, right? Because they're super tragic. What's more tragic than, innocent children and lives being taken, right? So we react and say, oh my God, this is terrible. Stop these innocent people from losing their lives. So we turn to them for a solution, not realizing that they were the ones who actually created the problem in the first place. And in comes the solution, pew 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 control. It might not be all at once, but Las Vegas, it was bump stocks. Nova Scotia, they just straight up took away automatic rifles right off the bat. after the Nova Scotia event. It's also to push fear, but problem, reaction, solution. They have to trick us. So what happens is we are actually giving up our rights, not realizing it. So the majority of people who are pushing for this gun control and saying, please do something about this, government, do something about these innocent people being taken at the hands of, or because of these pews, right? They actually believe that they're doing something beneficial and good for society, when actuality, they are literally asking for their rights and their freedoms to be taken away. It's brilliant. It works, and they use it all the time. And they're going to continue to keep using it until we have none left. And that might sound dramatic, but it's not. So it might be free speech in the true crime community. They're already taking away free speech in other communities on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. Anyone that goes against the official narrative gets taken down, right? That's not careful. Just like ODD TV. He's gone off YouTube. He's on Odyssey. And he was careful, because he would make a censored video for YouTube and he would make an uncensored one for Odyssey. But he's gone. So if anybody tries to say, Megan, you're being ridiculous, you're over-exaggerating, you're not walking on eggshells, just say your theory, just say what you want to say, I'm going to, oh crap. I'm not going to, oh crap. I mean, I messed up the video. I'm not over-exaggerating when I say that, because I've seen several channels get taken down multiple times for speaking out against these orchestrated events. But I did not realize until the Watts case that they were orchestrating these high-profile true crime cases to push agendas. So I messed up the spot, but let's just continue. I'm sorry. We're not gonna, how long have I been on? Rambling. An hour? Okay. An hour and 20 minutes. All right, here we go. So I want to get into, obviously, the Rusaks here.
It sounds like today, really, you're defending her and her.
Well, yes. That's how she was. She defended herself. And I'm out here now defending her. It doesn't need to be like this. I shouldn't have to be out here doing this. These Facebook and people should be regulating their people instead of just letting them go, making money.
They should be regulating their people. So we're their people, apparently, says Frank Sr. Regulating your people. So YouTube and Twitter and Facebook need to be regulating us and stopping us from apparently harassing these families, which I've seen no evidence of. Clearly, you guys, he is pushing an agenda with this conference, with this whatever he's doing, his speech.
Money off of my daughter's death is ridiculous.
What about Denver News again, Frank? What about HLN? What about Dr. Phil? What about Discovery ID? What about Netflix? What about Lavelle? What about, God, you name it. What about Google? What about Google? How can I forget Google? What about Google and YouTube and Facebook and Twitter making money off of the deaths? But nope. It's just us little ones, their people. So apparently we're just their people that need to be regulated, apparently. Okay, Nate Dogg and Warren G over here.
There's a few out there making some big money off it.
And yeah, I said it. Nate Dogg and Warren G regulate. Just in case anybody missed it. Yeah, I said it.
I know the attorneys aren't going to answer a question, at least on camera, but has there been any dialogue with local lawmakers to take this to the next step?
That's something that we have discussed. At this point, there's no real update
Oh, here comes in the fancy lawyer. Here he comes.
in that area.
So you've had some dialogue with
lawmakers, representatives, that sort of thing?
It's something that we are in the process of. I'm trying not to go too deep into it, but that is something
you're
we
not trying to go
considered
too
something that
deep
we're
into it.
following up on. Yes, and more than just local, a few national as well. It is something that people are very concerned about. It is pressing, and it is something very tragic.
I was going to say with something like this too, it's probably hard because which police agency do you go to, that sort of thing. That's probably where it gets a little muddy.
Yeah, it honestly, it's been something that once again, we weren't anticipating talking to a whole much as attorneys in this case, but you're correct. I mean, there is no, and I mean, we called Facebook, we called YouTube, we called Twitter. I mean, honestly, when Frank talks about the people who were there for him, there's a dedicated group of people who are just going out there and constantly, reporting, trying to get back at these people, essentially to take these things down. But they're, like Frank is saying, there's no regulatory arm of YouTube. There's no customer service line for YouTube, no customer service line for...
There's no customer service line for YouTube. You're a lawyer. If you're my lawyer and you couldn't get through to somebody on YouTube about harassment, you'd be fired. Sorry. But that's what you have, whatever it is you have with I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but being that as your lawyer, you should probably be able to get to somebody in contact with somebody on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Come on.
Facebook to contacts, and we have really tried and racked our brain over a year to get something done. A lot of this is just getting a message out there and hoping somebody responds.
Yeah, getting the message out there to the public so that we respond and say, oh my God, this is terrible, do something. Because they can't just take away our freedoms, you guys. They have to have us give up our rights. We have to be willing to say, hey, do something about it. Take away, do whatever you have to do. It doesn't matter. Do whatever you have to do to stop this harassment of these victims. So they need us. They need us to take away our own rights.
That's what the message is for. Hopefully somebody will hear us.
Do you hope maybe that this could change law? I mean, is that also your plea
I'm
tonight?
hoping it'll change
Good
the law,
shadow
but I'm
dancer.
hoping that these, Facebook and all these people, really look at what's going on their thing instead of just trying to get subscribers, whatever they want to call it. It's just, it's sad that they allow it to happen.
Or just stay off social media, Frank. Simple as that. You're welcome. You didn't have to pay me anything. I'm sure you paid your lawyer a lot more, right? Your fake lawyer. Give me a break. Okay, I'm done with this. I can't watch this again. I've watched it so many times, and just the propaganda is just insane. Let's get to more propaganda and bullshit. Shall we?
So my plea today is, as someone who loves and respects the First Amendment, my plea today is for these tech companies to wake up and self-regulate. Respond to your consumers, respond to them, and address this condition. And if you don't do it, the government is gonna step in. And who suffers? Because it's never just, a fine line for the good.
Who suffers? We do. We do. Now you have two, professionals up here, right? Mr. Duty Ron and Mr. Joe Murray, both retired. So years of experience, right? You have two of them on here, pushing so much propaganda onto a large audience. It's not good. It's not good, you guys. It's bad. So unless you guys don't care about free speech, unless you guys don't care about talking about your favorite true crime cases or having any free speech at all on social media, then that's on you. But I do. I like to, be able to voice my opinion and say what I want to say in a social media age. But this, you guys, this is bad. This is very, very bad. Okay? Because they can push this propaganda out to a large audience. And the majority of people will believe it. Because why? Because he's a detective and he's a criminal defense attorney. So we must listen to them because they tell the truth, right? And they're professionals. And they only have our best interest in mind. No, they don't. No, they don't.
Good and bad. We're all going to suffer when you attack somebody's, right to speak. And it's a slippery slope, and I don't want to go down that path.
Yep,
I
sure
don't want
is.
the government involved. So we really
But
need
you
to
will.
put the pressure on these companies to self-regulate. They can do it. They
Right.
can eliminate this content. They can
I-
put their rules very clearly. We
Yep.
will not tolerate this.
They can eliminate this content. So it's okay. Let me get this straight. It's okay for people to accuse a woman of murder, Nicole Kessinger, to accuse her of being an accomplice to murder with no evidence to back that up. Surely she lied to law enforcement. No empathy. I would love to see her rot in a prison cell, not because she murdered anybody or she was accomplice to murder, but for lying to the public, for deceiving the public to push an agenda or agendas. That's her crime. Just like everyone else who's involved in the Watts case, that's their crime. Besides Bella and Celeste, because obviously they're children and they're 100% innocent. And Madison Atkinson, because she's also a child, who's should have been protected, but she wasn't, because it's fake.
I agree 110%. More needs to be done. Look at what has gone on in the UK. In recent past, their leader brought forward heavy charges against Twitter, against all social media sites, Facebook.
Okay, we've already seen the sentencing. You don't need to see more of that. Pulling at heartstrings, because that's what they're doing. That's why they're playing this.
There isn't a day that goes by
See?
that I don't cry for my family. They were my whole world. All I do is ask myself why. Why would you do this? Love them the most. Did you really think you would get away with this?
What is this? Sorry. What does this have to do with the families and harassment? Why would you play this sentencing hearing again? And this victim's speech, whatever it's called, or victims, whatever. Why? Because it pulls at heartstrings. Because that's what these two gentlemen, if you want to call them that, are doing. Propaganda at its finest, you guys.
Did you really think that this was your best option?
There's so many supporting folks here for the Rusek family. People want to know what you can and can't do from a defense attorney side.
Well, let me just say before we get into that, I wanted to just remind, I know we had this conversation, barring none, the most painful thing I ever had to do as a police officer was to make a death notification, to tell someone that their loved one, who they just saw earlier that day, is now dead. They passed away and they'll never see him again alive. Just to watch the life drain out of the face of the person who aged right in front of me.
Yeah, exactly. Or cue violin, definitely. If I had some violin music right now ready, I would do it. But okay, we're gonna skip through all this, professional propaganda here. Let's just get, because I don't want him to strike me for copyright. Something I could see him doing.
PD connection that we have.
Oh, and if it's not too much longer, I'll read you some of these comments. If not, you guys can go and check out this video yourself and look at the comments. Look at what everyone's saying and how everyone is just buying it. It's how brainwashed people are.
About 3 years coming up this August 13th. These people need to just get on with their lives, as you said, Frank, and you said it so well.
Yeah, it's a shame that we are going through this. And like I said, it's not only us; it's other families that are doing it too.
Yeah.
And YouTube and all these places allow this to happen. It's sad.
It's despicable. Joe, you got anything to say, Mr. Rusick?
Yeah, please. Like I said, I would love for you to contact me and we could talk more about this and what, steps we can take at least to the worst offenders. But just doing this work with Duty Ron, it's really just opened my eyes to a lot more of what's happening out there and meeting the people who are involved in these cases. It's just incredible. So anything I can do, please, I really would love for you to reach out to me so we could talk more about this. But I'm here for you and I'm happy to help.
Okay, sounds good. We'll get up with Ron about this and we'll get talking.
Thank you.
And Frank, I want to say quickly, because we've already spoke on the phone, but before you joined here tonight, my condolences to you and your family. Again, I'm kind of hopped up right now, so please.
This is not the only family who has lost loved ones. They're not the only family, so I'm sorry, but why is everyone why are so many people so invested in this one family? I get it. It's sad. If it's real, if it was real, it's sad, okay? It is. But so many people are murdered in horrific ways. Innocent people are murdered in horrific ways all the time. So why aren't they getting as much attention as this family? Why isn't those victims or those family members of the victims getting attention? Because they don't get the mainstream media attention because those cases are real. And this one is not, because they're pushing an agenda, clearly.
Please forgive me for not being respectful in that way. I just was thrilled that you joined, and I wanted to say my sincere, deepest condolences.
Why is it so dark, Frank? Turn on a light. Show yourself.
To you and your family.
Yeah, thank you very much. We appreciate everything, and everybody gets hyped up about everything. So
I'd like to say thank you too, real quick. I'm sorry I'm jumping
Hey, Frankie.
I want to say thank you guys. I appreciate all the kind things you said, and it sure is nice to get some help. And I've been working hard trying to get, not like you said, get the not a law, but maybe hold these people accountable. Hold the platforms accountable. If not the platform, then the people. You know what I mean? They got.
So they want to hold the platforms because they can't sue. They know they can say that they're gonna file all these lawsuits against these channel creators. That one in particular, who I believe is a plant and in on the whole thing. It's just a ruse. It's just a ruse. He's just a controlled opposition. But he can say he can raise all this money that people have donated. Their hard-earned money that people have donated to this scam, you guys. Can you imagine how pissed people would be if they knew that their hard-earned money was donated to these scammers? To push an agenda? And to take away our rights? But they know. That's why Frankie's saying we're not trying to get some law, but or whatever. Yeah, you are. We just want people to be held accountable, because you cannot sue somebody for talking about a highly publicized case. It is our rights. We have freedom of speech. We are allowed to. That's what happens when you are in the limelight in the public, unfortunately. But we are allowed to discuss these cases. If all these documentaries can be made about it, then we are allowed to. So again, they can't. They cannot legally do it. So they are using that Hegelian dialectic to trick us. They're getting Duty Ron and Joe Murray here are using their bullshit propaganda to, on all their viewers that they get, the Duty Ron gets, in their professionalism, they're pushing propaganda and lies to get people stirred up enough to start demanding that something be done. Start demanding that these social media platforms do something about this harassment, even though there's no proof of it. So they are going to trick us. And the ones who start demanding that something be done, those are the ones that believe they're doing something good for society or for these victims, these poor innocent victims, right? Who they've never met in their life, mind you, and are only believing what they're told because they were told. Those are the ones that are going to ruin it for the rest of us. And we're going to wake up one day, and it might not be tomorrow, it might not be next month, but one day you're going to wake up and your free speech is going to be gone. And I've been saying this since the minute Frank stood in front of that house and started pointing fingers at the social media platforms. I might not have been as transparent back then, but I am now, because I'm not going to allow any of my rights to be taken away. So the more people that wake up to this bullshit, the better. And if that takes hurting some people, and if that's not what people want to hear, then that's the risk I'm going to take, because I will not sit back and allow this bullshit to continue. And I'll be right back because my kitty wants in. He's going, meow. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, let's continue. Sorry.
Gotta have something in place for this. Like you said, it's only getting, the technology is only getting more different, you know what I mean? So they got to keep up with it. I love my First Amendment. I love my free speech, but there's a huge fine line between.
You love your free speech? You love your free speech? Well, so do I, Frankie Jr., Frank Sr. I do too. So why are you trying to take that away from me? Like, it's just so obvious. It's so obvious, and I cannot believe that the majority of people just fall for this. I mean, it's mind-blowing. Like, I mean, it's obvious what they're doing. It's so obvious to me. And I know that just because it's obvious to me, it's not obvious to everyone else. But that's what I'm trying to show, is the clear contradictions and the hypocrisy of this family, who clearly is not doing what they said that they were doing before and staying off social media. They're doing the complete opposite. And every time they show their faces, they just get people to start talking about the case more. Why? Because they want people to continue talking about the case. They want people to get worked up, and they want to keep pushing this victim card to get enough people worked up that Hegelian dialectic comes in, and they start demanding that something be done, and literally begging for their rights to get taken away.
And Ron and Joe, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And God bless you both for doing this for our family and for many other families. And Joe, we will be getting up with you, and we'll get you up to par what we're up to.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Bet you will.
Sandy, and Sandy, Frank, and Frankie Jr. My community here, you have the complete love and support from the folks here at the Duty Ron, Crime Time with Duty Ron. I do not allow any toxic behavior. So if anybody is toxic, they're immediately eliminated. So a lot of love coming from this community to you guys.
Okay, I don't need to see any more of that. Do you guys need to see any more of that? I don't want to push it. And if you guys want to go check out the video, obviously I don't want to promote his channel by all means. But if promoting it, shows people like what's going on and what, that obvious propaganda that's going on, then I'll do it. Because that's clearly what's happening. Okay. And sorry, I can look at the chat now. I know it's hard for me to, once I get on my little rants, if I start, stopping and looking at the chat, we'll be here all night. Well, thank you. I'll be here all night. No. And Shadow Dancer, you said to look up the lawyer's name. I think I did a long time ago. Actually, I don't know if I ever did. I just never got the feeling that he was, or sense that he was a real lawyer or looked like one. Not that lawyers have a distinct look, but yeah, you should see the chat on his live stream. And of course, Mama Sandy's in there pushing more propaganda and pulling at heartstrings and, oh, thank you, we're victims. And that's the thing that pisses me off, is they are not the victims, we are. And there's so many people, like I said earlier, that are truly advocating for this family who they don't even know, but it's because they care, because they are human and they have hearts and they have empathy. There's nothing wrong with that. But knowing that so many people are dedicating their lives for these two families that they don't even know and spending so much time, fighting for justice for nothing. When there's so many people out there who really need justice, for and advocating for. Hey, Stephanie. Hey, Aaron. And I can keep doing these live streams, and I appreciate all of you guys who are here and who support me and listen to what I have to say and have open minds. But I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get the word out there. I've tried everything. I've tried different platforms. I've tried making videos. It's just, I don't know if my channel is being suppressed, if I'm being censored. I don't know what it is. But I have been, you guys see me in chats all the time on the true crime community. I don't know if it's because people don't want, that's not the outcome that they want to hear. I don't know what it is. But if I, had 100 people in my chat every time, it would be amazing. Because people need to hear this. People need to hear the truth about this case. And people need to wake up. For real. And say, hey, maybe Megan is right. Maybe why isn't this case adding up? Why, she seems to be the only one that's, giving answers for these questions that we have. Like, why nothing adds up? Why so much was released? Why they're not investigating anybody else? Why Nicole Kessinger wasn't investigated or treated as a suspect? Why she was treated as a victim? Why the crime scene wasn't taped off or secured? Why there's so many, incomplete autopsies? Why there's no time of death? Why don't the autopsy? Why is there so many inconsistencies? Why doesn't nothing add up? Why is there no camera footage? Why? This is why. Because it's a psyop. It's not real. And why everything looks like a movie? It's because it is. But that's how it pulls people in. And even on channels that allow me to have a voice, I still can't even go there. Like, I'm still censored. Like, oh, you can talk about your theory, but don't say that no one died. Or don't say that say anything about the Rusek. So that's still, even then, I'm still being censored. And again, I appreciate it because I'm very limited. I think I have pretty much Mia's channel is the only channel that I have left where I can, truly voice my opinion about this case. And even then, I don't even feel comfortable doing it on Mia's channel because I know that, it's her channel, number one. And number two, if it's, my theory is completely different from anyone else's. And it doesn't matter. It's like I'm censored no matter what, and I definitely don't want to try and promote my channel on other channels because that's not right. And that's why I'm constantly in these other chat rooms and I, say this inconsistency, or I'll point out this about the case that someone mentions or something or whatever. And I might throw in here and there like a little bit of my theory, but those are the reasons why I'm in those other chats. It's not because I'm trying to figure out what happened with this case. I'm not trying to figure out what happened with Nutgate. I'm not trying to figure out if Nicole Kessinger poisoned Chris, or if there's devil's breath, or if there was if he was going to, blow up the tanks. I'm not in there because of that. I'm in there because it's the only way I can subtly, I guess, promote my channel in a way. I can't go from channel to channel to channel and be a guest on it and voice my theory. That would, be the end of that channel. So I have a lot of obstacles in my way as far as getting the truth out there. And so, I really need your guys. I've never asked this before, but just please share my videos with everybody that you can, and just, and I know that other channel creators say don't bring up other channel creators, which is absolutely ridiculous. Not all channels are like that. But, if everybody wanted the truth out there about this case, it wouldn't matter if you mention another channel or not. It's all a competition, and I think it's ridiculous. But just, post it to Facebook, whatever you can, because, again, it's so important. I know it sounds dramatic, but, again, you're going to wake up and your rights are going to be gone. I'm telling you. And it's getting worse. The more that the Rusek show their faces on all these channels, these professional channels pushing this bullshit propaganda, that really worries me. Yeah, and the whole conspiracy theorist thing is it's just a way for, people who actually have, you think critically and logically and ask questions. It's just a way to discredit them by immediately saying, oh, they're conspiracy theorists. It's such bullshit, but it works, because no one, and even if someone wants to speak up or wants to ask questions, they're so scared that they're going to get attacked, or they're going to get, called a conspiracy theorist, or they're going to look down upon, and that's, what are you going to do about that? I don't blame them. Yeah, I mean, a lot of our rights are gone, Kristen. Definitely. And if I'm going to be coined a conspiracy theorist, then so what? So be it. I'll be a conspiracy theorist, because at least I know that I'm not living in some sort of bubble and living my life with cognitive dissonance, and I think critically and I ask questions, and I don't believe everything I'm told just because I'm told. Call me a conspiracy theorist all you want. I don't care. Hey, Nelly. Hey, Michelle, I'm so sorry that I didn't make it to your live stream. I got caught up in some things, and I'm bummed I missed it. I'm going to try to catch the next one. And if you're not subscribed to Michelle, if you want to drop your link, please do. she does a lot of great streams on a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about. Not necessarily true crime, but you know, with the virus and all the government corruption that's going on, she does a great job. So. I don't think he is still in the database. No, Stephanie. But I do want to keep this under 2 hours. I'm trying not to make them like 3 hours long and ramble too much. And I do apologize if I didn't pay attention to the chat. I'm the worst at that. I know, worst streamer ever. But I know it's time to end it when my voice starts to get all hoarse. Of course, no. No, but I try not to get too worked up, and I've said this before. I try not to get so worked up because I don't want to sway anyone's opinions whatsoever. I definitely do not want that. That's the last thing I'd want to do. But it does infuriate me sometimes, and I'm passionate about it because I don't want to lose my rights, and I don't want any of you to lose your rights. But people seriously need to wake up, and literally, as cheesy as it sounds, think for yourself, do your own research, and don't believe anyone. So that being said, thank you everyone for being here. I truly appreciate it. I know it was, a late night stream. I try to stream at all hours for, people in different time zones. But, I'll try to get like a good live stream together where I actually schedule it. Unfortunately, I can't do that with like OBS. I'd rather use OBS than crappy StreamYard. And Restream, I always have to, Restream sucks. But anyways, I'll try to schedule one, or at least let you guys know. I don't know. And see if that helps. See if that brings more people in, because people need to really wake up about this case, and I hope that I am making some sort of progress as far as, at least getting people to see that not everything is what it seems. So, again, thank you everyone for being here, and I'll see you guys next time.